Really, it's a little nickname I got because I like to grill a little bit. Grill Sergeant is Sergeant spelled wrong, as you may probably have noticed, and the reason is because I logged into a different account. I created an ID, and Grill Sergeant spelled correctly was already taken. So I spelled it phonetically, and there you go. Last time we were here, I shot a video of my 10-year-old daughter who was shooting for the first time with a .22 caliber rifle. The reason I taped her was so I could show her what she was doing right and what she was not doing right without causing problems. As a parent, I really have an issue with when I give my kids some constructive criticism. They don't take it well. They always tell me I'm doing it right. I am doing it right, Daddy, I am doing it right. And, I'm watching them, so I know they're not. So this way I get to show them the video, and instead of telling them they're doing it wrong, I give them ideas on how to do it better. And it really works out better. There's a lot less hurt feelings, and I don't get as frustrated with my kids getting mad at me and shutting down. So we're going to go ahead and look at the target, and we're going to look at a modification I did on the rifle, which you'll get to see later, which will really help my daughter out at the 50-meter range. So let's get into it. Okay, here's the target we shot at. We went to the range last time. The first several rounds, I'd say 30 or so, I had my daughter shooting at this big round bullseye at the 30-yard range. And as you can see, her results varied. Her first several rounds were kind of off target. That was her first round over here in the corner of this little box right there. And then we had several rounds landing over here. And once she figured out the rifle, the way she was looking at it or the way the sight was adjusted, her rounds were landing over to the right of where she thought they would. She started using a little Kentucky windage and bringing her rounds back over towards the center, and they started dropping a little better. Once she started putting her rounds where she wanted them, then I had her shooting some 5-round groups. This thing right here is from where I had the staple gun attached. So we had our first 5-round group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and as you can see, her first few rounds were off to the right and low. Then she used a little Kentucky windage and brought them back closer to the center. This is her second grouping of 5, and as you can see, I'm sure you can count, there are only 4 holes there. Her first round on that group sailed to the left of the target and missed the paper, and then she calmed down and she shot a much better group. It's like I said, this is at 30 yards, and it's her first time shooting, so I'm pretty happy with that. The next grouping, she did much better. This round right there, that was the first round she shot at the target altogether, and so that's not part of her group. This right here is her group, and as you can see, it's just 2 ragged holes. And so I know it's only 30 yards, but it's her first time shooting, and that's a really good group for her. And I was real proud for her, and she was real proud of herself. All right, let's head inside the house and we'll take a look at the rifle. This we shot the last video. I went and bought a scope for it. Actually, I had the scope already, but I went and installed it. This is the box the rifle came in. Let me move this right here, and you can see the URL for Crickett. You can go to their website. I did, and I found the scope. It comes in this box right here, and what comes in the box, of course, is the scope rings, the mounting bracket. It comes with some operational instructions, a lens cloth, a ballistics chart, and a little kit with some hardware. Also, this bikini style lens cover. The rear lens cover is tinted. You can see through them both, so you don't have to take it off if you don't want to. I do. I think it bothers me, but some people it won't bother. To install the scope, it's real easy. There are 2 plug screws that you take out with a slotted screwdriver. I use a jeweler's screwdriver to take them out. I think it's real important to use the right tool for the right job, so I used a small screwdriver so I didn't mar the metal on my receiver. The forward receiver is this part right here, this little bitty section right here, just to the rear of the barrel. That's where the serial number is located, because you can change out barrels and you don't have to worry about the serial number changing. This rifle's been safety checked. Okay, the bolt's locked to the rear, and you can see in the chamber there's no round in there. You can also physically check and make sure. Once those plug screws are out, then you got to take the rear aperture off, and there's a little screw that's on there. It's a little slotted screw. It takes a bigger screwdriver, and I went ahead and backed that out, and it was down there pretty tight. So if I had used the wrong screwdriver, one that was too small or too big, I probably would have damaged the screw and made it sharp. So if I put the iron sights back on, then it might potentially snag on my clothes or cut me, and that's not desirable at all. Okay, so once those screws are out, you can mount the bracket. Before you do mount the bracket, though, you have to move this. This is the elevation adjustment. It's called the elevator, and you got to loosen the screw so you can push it all the way down, and then you can mount this thing flush on the rifle. You got to hold it tight. You can run the two screws that replace the plug screws down. They're Phillips head screws, and you got to use the appropriate screwdriver, of course. And the screw that mounts the rear part of the mounting bracket on there is just identical to the one that came out. So once that's down there and tight and snug on the rifle, you can go ahead and tighten that elevation screw down, and then you can install the scope rings on the mount. Once the bottom half of the scope rings are installed using these Allen screws and the attached Allen wrench in there, then you can go ahead and make sure that the rifle is mounted inside the rings. Once it's mounted in the rings and you've got all your parts you took out and your tools back in the hardware bag, then you can go ahead and take it to the range and fire it. Inside these turrets are the windage adjustments on this side. So if you turn this clockwise, you'll move the reticle to the left, and counterclockwise you move it to the right. You can just move this with your fingers. You don't need a tool for that. And this cap just screws on and off with your finger. It's finger tight, and I'll screw it back on there so you can see. Once it's down there, it's not exactly watertight, but it's pretty close. The one on the top is for elevation, and that's pretty much the same. If you turn it clockwise, it'll move the reticle up, and counterclockwise will move it down. So the next time we go to the range, I'm going to have her use this at the 50-yard target, because she couldn't see where her rounds were landing. I'd have to tell her on a target that was laid down next to her. I'd point at it and show her where she hit. And this way she can get some immediate feedback. All right, well, we'll see you at the range. Drill Sergeant out.